Easily find, book, and manage your travel nursing assignments with the AMN Passport app. Download today. So you made the prototype with this. You found a company that would take you guys on. How long did that process take to actually create the first product?
Yeah, so about 9 months, I believe, or so. It's really, yeah, it's hard to like really explain. So you don't really understand how many issues there are in developing a product until you're doing it. So the engineering of the product, the engineers that took us on, they seem to be a pretty new firm. They all had a
Mm.
ton of experience, but they look like they created their own engineering firm like rather recently based on like their website and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I think it looked for them was like an opportunity to take on a new project for their portfolio, and
Sure.
they did a great job. But the I have such appreciation for people who make electronics because to develop something that's even as simple as a specialized light, there's a lot of like development that goes into it. And another big issue was because this was right after COVID, supply chains.
Mm.
Getting parts for electronics was extremely difficult. There's global shortage of electronic components, global
Yeah.
shortage of like the little things that make the microchips. And so,
Yeah.
you can
Okay.
have 99% of your tools, but that one microchip that's out of stock globally stops your production.
Yeah. So it's just
And
a waiting game.
it is a waiting, it's a big waiting game. And the problem is, you have huge companies. You have to think like big companies that make electric cars and computers. They all need these same little components. And so as soon as they're available, we'll find on the website that there's 100,000 of these chips available, and then you go to like place your order for your 1,000 units, and they're completely gone
Oh my
within
God.
minutes. And so it's a
Jeez.
constant like chase of getting the parts you need. So that ran into a lot of delays. But
Wow. Okay.
it's kind of funny. So we actually got the first prototype the day before TravCon last year, or 2 days before TravCon last year.
Oh, wow.
And we had the actual like physical what the final Firefly was gonna be like. So we ran through a bunch of variations of prototypes
Yeah.
that were either too big or like things about it we didn't like. So we had to keep getting one and trying it. Like, no, we don't like it. Switch this, switch that.
Okay.
But we got it 2 days before TravCon last year, which is where we first publicly announced Firefly.
That's so cool. Oh, I didn't realize that. I
Yeah.
didn't know TravCon had that significance for you guys. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
last
cool.
year, and not this one, but the one before, and no one, even a lot of people didn't even know we were there. We had like last minute booked a booth, and we were like the back corner. So if you got lost, you found us. But
Yeah.
we were very small back then.
So, how many prototypes did you go through before you were like, this is the one?
We went through um, physical prototypes. I think we had three, but a
Mm,
bunch of digital markups of maybe like 5 to 6 or so
okay.
that the engineers like put together and like no, make it smaller or switch this feature because the original size of the prototype that they sent us was quite a bit wider than what we have now. And we
Mm.
like took it apart and like, nope, it looks like there's rooms you can squeeze things in. Like we need to make this smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And then you run into the problem like, okay, well, if you want it smaller, we have to find new batteries that have enough power to power the lumens you want. And so there's
Mm,
like all this like, you're taking away, you're making it smaller, but then you have to compromise like what type of battery you can use that are still, you know, that have
sure.
credibility, they're certified batteries. So it's a lot of like you make one sacrifice to make up for something different. It's a
Yeah.
lot of balancing out. It's very complicated.
And just like knowing, having the background and the confidence to be like, no, I think that we can do this. I think that we can like,
Yeah.
do
And
this a certain way.
that's a big part of it though. You kind of like you can't you're not going to be rude, but you have to be very assertive because
Yeah.
you're working with these engineers who I have so much appreciation for engineers that are so smart, but their mind is like the getting the functionality of it, but they don't understand the clinical application.
Sure,
And
sure.
a lot of it's like, no, this is the way it needs to work to me. I'm like, no, we're telling you like if you make it this size, it's not going to be clinically practical.
Right.
Find a way to make it smaller. And
Yeah.
it's like you have to have that little bit of being assertive to make sure that you're getting the clinical application that you need out of it
Yeah. You have to
versus
advocate for your product.
yeah, exactly. And there was a lot of not a lot of that, but a decent amount where it was a lot of like, hey, no, like and you have to like justify why you want them to make these kind of rather difficult changes.
Yeah.
And then once you do, like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I
water,
mean, if there's the clinical, significance of it. It's not just like, yeah, it's not what I envisioned. I mean, there's, maybe a little bit of that too, but the fact that like it has to serve a clinical purpose. These are
sure,
for tiny little
exactly.
hands.
Yeah, and there's it's definitely quite not quite a bit different, but it is very different design than what we had originally thought it would be. But it
Mm.
follows all the priority like aspects of it that we wanted.
Yeah.
So there was definitely some sacrifice on like the way it looks now, but it's absolutely amazing. It
Yeah.
came out awesome.
Yeah. I know.